Salams and welcome to ADHD. Low attention, high activity, like on a seesaw, right? So we've gone through attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and today we are busy with episode number 3. This is episode number 3. We'll go through all of these various categories in each of the various categories, and then after number 12, I've just come across this fabulous journal article in the South African Journal of Psychiatry by Dr. Skuman or Professor Skuman and Vogus. Okay, so we'll go through that in some detail. And the main emphasis of that article is that let's remove the stigma from ADHD. Let's educate ourselves. Let's educate our teachers. Let's educate the parents, the grandparents, even the media. We've got October coming up. This is now July. We're in the month of July. We're in winter at the moment. So while we are in July, let's try and start preparing. Let's get the media involved and the various ADHD organizations and societies. Whether you're part of Facebook groups, please join. If you've got ADHD in your family, please join the various social media groups. The support groups on Facebook and on social media, so they can get talking around this topic and get the media involved. So they must start building up plans for promoting. Get government involved, so then we can send out adverts and even on TV about ADHD, and let's remove the stigma around ADHD, and let's educate ourselves that what is ADHD. Let's not hide from the situation. Let's not pretend it's not there. First world countries are very advanced. I know in this country and various parts of Africa or India or Pakistan or Afghanistan or some parts of the world, Kenya, Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, in Senegal, in Sudan, in Ethiopia, underreported, very, very difficult. In Democratic Republic of Congo and Sudan, there's civil war in some areas of in Africa. In Kenya, we're just going through the crisis there with the taxation, the bread tax and everything else. So many of these areas is underreported, right? So let's get going. So the main thing is let's share knowledge. Okay, so the whole purpose of this is when you finish watch this video, please share it. Let's share knowledge. The more we share knowledge, the more we can educate the people and we can remove the stigma around ADHD. All right. So ADHD, today we'll look briefly at the test interviews and what we can extract from there. So interviews with family and teachers are an important part of the ADHD test and diagnosis for children. So that's a very important component of it. You can't just take a blood test and say, okay, you got ADHD. Interviews are the main thing because it's a behavioral condition. So it requires a detailed history, not only from the child, but from the parents and the friends and the peers and the teachers and whoever's interacting with the child. These interviews help your doctor or ADHD expert to get a better overall look at your child's life. The interviews usually include questions about how your child acts in different situations, such as at home or at schools. So you as the parent or you as the teacher may be asked some of the following questions. So please pay attention to these questions, which doctors normally will ask the parent or the teacher. The first question will be, is there anyone else in your family who might have ADHD or has been diagnosed with it? Because the family history is important. As we mentioned in the previous video, in video number 2, we said that genetics has a very important link. So maybe there's parents who had ADHD or grandparents or maybe the brothers and sisters or uncles or aunts. So they're going to ask you a detailed family history that is anyone else in the family, are they similar to this type of personality? The second question you'll be asked, it doesn't mean this particular order. Does your child fidget a lot and squirm around when asked to be still? Got ants in the pen just squirming around, and you tell the child, sit still. But it's just fidgety. The other kids will sit still. The teacher will say, everybody quiet. Everyone sits still, except Dari, young Carol, and he's just jumping. He's fidgeting all the time. And the teacher is frustrated. You know why? The teacher herself, unfortunately, many teachers, they don't know what is ADHD. So instead of sympathizing with the child or informing the parents, they will say, that's Kalamki. He's stout. He's a very naughty child. We must discipline him. In our days when I grew up, fortunately today there's no capital punishment. Is it called capital? Not capital. Corporal. Well, corporal, but sometimes corporal punishment felt like capital punishment. In our days, if you talk in the classroom and the teacher was gone out, we used to all play around, throw things, that was fun. We used to all be ruckus and rowdy, throwing papers at one another and taking our rubber band and a katang and throwing banana peels and, nachos peels at one another. And when the teacher hears everyone keeps quiet. Teacher said, who was making the noise? Everyone's quiet. Everyone must get this best of 6. They don't care who it is. So even if 2 people are making the noise, the whole classroom gets a shot. Okay, so that corporate punishment is gone. So instead of punishing the child, the teacher needs to understand what is ADHD, and we need to remove the stigma around ADHD. So, does your child, so the questions we talk about the interviews, does your child fidget a lot and squirm when asked to be still for a long time, fidgeting? Does your child have trouble finishing or staying on a task or project? Sometimes you give a child something to do. The child starts nicely, but leaves it, goes to something else, and leaves it, and goes to something. So unfinished projects is a very important clue. And especially if it's a difficult one or a challenging one, the child just doesn't want to finish it. It can't stay focused. Can't stay focused. Is your child easily distracted by either noise or activity? Does it, maybe you're busy studying, the other children will be busy doing their crayon coloring, and this one just looks around. Oh, is there a bird? Or was there a dog barking? Very quickly distracted. Cannot concentrate on the work. And then the other question is, can your child wait their turn? If they're staying in a queue, can they wait their turn? Or he's jumping out of the queue, he's just very fidgety, he can't stand in the queue. How old was your child when you started noticing these behaviors? So you need to answer those questions. The doctors ask you all of these questions. When are the behaviors most obvious? Are there certain things that trigger the conditions? What are your child's report cards like? So when you go see the doctor, take your school cards with you and see the pattern. Maybe last year everything was fine. A year before there was everything fine. What happened? Something happened in April or May. So you need to find out what happened in April or May. Was there a family crisis? Did something go wrong? Why did the child's performance start dropping? What did happen? Some children, for funny reasons, during the whole week they find Saturday, Sunday come, they can't concentrate. So you need to figure out what is going on. What is your family's medical history? So you need to do observation at school and at home. Diagnosis depends a lot on what parents and teachers observe. Observation, you need to use your eyes, you got to observe. And mothers know the children the best. And teachers know the kids the best. So that's why the doctors, they interview the parents and they interview the teachers. Need to observe how they see the child acting at home. How does a child act in the classroom, and how does a child act in the playground? Quiet observation doesn't disturb your child. You can look at the child from far. The grandparents can also tell you a lot. They say, this kid is like this, but that one is like that. You may be asked to keep a journal. So doctors will tell you to keep a journal, keep a logbook, and record everything of the type of behaviors. Maybe sometimes the child is reacting when he's eating. Somebody got a sugar high. Okay, so you need to decide, okay, after meals, this is what happened. Or maybe during early in the morning it happens, or maybe late in the afternoon. So you need to make a log of everything. When does a child become disruptive? And follow a checklist. And you may be asked to keep a journal or follow a checklist as you and the teacher observe the child for certain behaviors. For example, does the child have difficulty paying attention to instructions? You make a note that, I told the child to do this, but he didn't just do it. So make a note. What is the time? What happened? Why? What was the instruction you gave? And why didn't the child follow it? Does the child not seem to listen? You told a child to do something, they're just ignoring you. Make a note of that. Frequently losing items. What is the children with ADHD? They lose items all the time. Make a note. What did the item do? Was it the same thing? Are they losing? Are they losing different things? Do they fidgeting and squirming all the time? Do they do it all the time? Make a note. What time does squirming and fidgeting happen? Do they not stay seated? When they're sitting, eating lunch, do they just jumping up and running down? Or while they're doing homework, all the other brothers and sisters sitting quietly, and this one is just fidgety, going out, playing with the dog, coming back inside. Going out, playing with the hosepipe, coming inside. Cannot just concentrate. Which is fidgety? Make a note. Jump around or be physically active when they shouldn't be. For example, a teacher says, okay, today we're going to be quiet today. Let's listen to a story. And this one is just jumping around. Or speak out or act out of turn. They tend to interrupt a lot. So sometimes adults are talking and they just keep on chipping in. Once in a while it's fine. But if we keep on chipping in, make a note of that. The doctor needs to know what is going on. I just need to press one button here because my back. Okay. And then family history. So a doctor will ask you, ADHD can run in families. An adult with ADHD has an 80 to 90% chance of passing it on to the children. Okay, so there's maybe 80%. So there's a very high chance, 70 to 80% chance that a child will get it. So if a child got ADHD, we need to get the family history in. Then you can do a various type of psychological and medical tests. Your doctor needs to rule out physical health problems that can have similar symptoms to ADHD. As we mentioned, we don't want to confuse something else with ADHD. So then they will do hearing tests. Maybe the problem is child is not listening to you because it's a problem with the ear. So you can't say it's ADHD. You can't say he's got an activity problem, he's not listening to you. So so the doctor will do hearing tests, eye tests, blood tests for levels of lead. We said lead is very important. An EEG, electroencephalogram, to measure the electrical activity in the brain. We know the frontal lobe, these areas are involved. These are executive functions. The executive functions involved with the behavior of the child, and these executive functions, the frontal lobes, these are involved. So the doctors are very curious about this. And a CT scan or MRI to check for abnormalities to rule out that is there something else going on, and maybe it could not be ADHD. So the expert will also consider other mental and emotional issues that look similar to ADHD, such as mood disorders. Maybe it's autism spectrum disorder, maybe there's a learning or deafness problem. So it's common to have one or more of these issues together with ADHD. So please remember, before you can come to a specific or a precise definition of ADHD, we need to remove or exclude so many other factors. So that's why you need to initially make sure that the parent is educated. Now, it doesn't mean, now many times people won't know what is ADHD. You know why? Because your child doesn't have it. Only those parents who have ADHD, then they start researching it, they start investigating about it. But the majority of the people don't know what is ADHD. That means if you are a new parent, you don't know what's ADHD. So maybe your child got ADHD, but how are you going to know? The only way to know is if the government invests money in the public and starts publishing articles and newspaper articles and publishes things on TV and radio to say there's a condition called ADHD, look out for these symptoms. So we need to invest heavily in places like Stellenbosch University and pay our lecturers better, give them research funding so they can have more research, get the media involved, get the government involved, get the teachers associations involved. Because this needs to be a very close link between the research organizations, with this fabulous work that they are doing, as what I mentioned. Where's that article? Yeah. So we have, say, research organizations like Skuman and Vogus, whether it's, I would say Professor Skuman and Professor Vogus from Stellenbosch Business School, and she's also got a private practice in Belleville. And Tony, that's Renata Skuman. So Renata Skuman, Stellenbosch Business School, private practice in Belleville. And Tony Vogus, I don't know if it's Vogus or Vogues, I'll use it as Vogus. Goldilocks and Bear Foundation, Department of Psychology, Stellenbosch University. So we got our academics who are doing the research on ADHD. So we appeal to the government to invest heavily in them, and let's get the public aware. Let's remove the stigma around ADHD and let's get talking. So join me in the next episode. We've done 1, 2, 3. Next episode is episode number 4. And let me know your thoughts. But main thing is, let's share this knowledge. Let's share it with other people. Stay well. And if you've got a word there, share. Let's share it. I think that's better now. So let's share it. Sharing is the main thing. By sharing it, we get the knowledge going with everyone. Stay well and look after yourself. Alhamdulillah.